I still remember the weight of that plate in my hands. A perfect-looking ribeye steak laid out like art, but I knew exactly what it was. Yesterday's leftovers dressed up to fool a man they didn't think mattered. A man in a hoodie who walked into a place like Langston and Price, a five-star temple of crystal chandeliers, and whispered judgments looking like he didn't belong. I was shaking as I carried it across the dining room past the polished marble floors and overpriced floral centerpieces. I'd worked there 2 years, Maya Jefferson, the only black woman server in that whole pristine space, and I'd seen things. Things you couldn't put in the handbook. Like how guests who looked out of place were always seated by the kitchen doors, how certain wine bottles were out of stock depending on who was asking. But this crossed a line. The man's name was Eli Turner. I didn't know it then. To me, he was just table 14, quiet, calm, and soaking wet from the rain when he stepped in. Victoria, the hostess, with the tight blonde bun and tighter morals, tried to send him away, suggested a diner 2 blocks down. But he stood his ground. Said he wanted a table here. No reservation, just presence. She gave him the worst seat in the house next to the swinging doors, where hot air, loud voices, and greasy smells crashed in waves. Eli didn't flinch. He just sat looking around like he'd seen this play before. And maybe he had. Bradley, the server for that section, flat out ignored him. Acted like table 14 didn't exist. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Eli just sat there, calm as a lake, hands folded neatly. Not complaining, just waiting. Something in me snapped. I grabbed a menu and a water pitcher and walked straight over. "Good evening, sir. My name's Maya. I'll be taking care of you tonight." He looked up and smiled. Not a sarcastic one. Not fake. Just real. "Thank you, Maya," he said. He ordered the ribeye medium rare and a glass of water. Didn't even glance at the prices. I walked the order into the kitchen. That's when the nightmare started. Chef Roland, big reputation, bigger ego, looked at the ticket, peeked through the window at Eli, and laughed. "The guy in the hoodie," he said to Marcus, his right hand. "Give him yesterday's steak. He won't know the difference." I froze. I knew better than to speak up. Folks got fired for less. I had my little brother's tuition to help with rent coming up and exactly $16 in my checking account. But still, my stomach turned. I bit my tongue, said nothing. But as they plated that leftover ribeye, garnished it like it was fresh, I grabbed a napkin and wrote 3 words. That's yesterday's leftovers. When I brought the food out, I placed it down gently, pretended to adjust his water glass, slipped the napkin into his hand. For a second, he looked confused, then curious. He opened the napkin, read the note, and didn't say a word. Just folded it, placed it beside his untouched steak, and pushed the plate away. He never took a single bite. I thought I'd lost my job right then. But instead he stood, walked over, handed me $200 in cash, and whispered, "Thank you for your honesty." Then he said louder so everyone could hear, "The service was exceptional," and walked out. The next morning, David, the general manager, called me into his office, closed the door, smiled with just his mouth. "You served table 14 last night." "Yes, sir." He didn't eat his meal. "No, sir." "You say anything?" Strange to him. I held my face still, just thanked him for coming. He leaned in. "Don't play games with me, Maya. You're already lucky to be here. Don't give me a reason to rethink that." I nodded, didn't speak. But I recorded that conversation on my phone and emailed it to myself. That day I was reassigned kitchen prep, basement duty, no tips, no FaceTime with guests, just peeling potatoes in the dark. 3 days passed. Word spread fast among staff. That same man had come back each afternoon, asked for me, was told I no longer worked there, smiled and walked out. Then came Friday. He showed up again. But this time, he wasn't alone. A woman in a sharp blue suit walked in with him. Sandra Palmer, food critic for the Tribune. Her reviews could kill a restaurant in one paragraph. He asked for me. They had to pull me out of the basement. David hissed at me on the way up. Say one wrong word and you'll never work in this town again. But Eli, he stood when he saw me. Maya, he said, warm like a friend. This is Sandra. I told her about your courage. The dining room was watching, like a theater with all eyes on one stage. Sandra ordered the sea bass. I whispered that it was actually fresh because I saw them unpack it this morning. She smiled, took notes. Midway through the meal, one of the investors, Harold Denton, old silver hair part owner, walked over. You're Elijah King, aren't you? The room went silent. Eli stood. That's right. Gasps, whispers, phone screens lit up. Elijah King, the billionaire. The one who buys failing companies, flips them, changes entire industries. The hoodie wasn't a disguise. It was a test. Eli told Harold, I've dined here 7 times now. Documented every instance of racism, fraud, and intimidation. I've got video, audio, testimonies, and I'm buying this place. David turned white. Elijah looked around. But I'm not just buying it. I'm rebuilding it from the floor up. And Maya will be my general manager. I nearly collapsed. He kept going. Fire David. Fire Roland. Give Maya hiring power. Create real training. Or I go public with every dirty secret. By noon, both men were gone. And I, Maya Jefferson, the black waitress who almost got fired for speaking up, was sitting in the manager's office signing paperwork with 25% ownership of the very restaurant that used to humiliate me. But it didn't end there. There was backlash. Lies spread online. Claims I'd stolen from past jobs. My mama called me scared, said reporters were outside the house. Elijah moved us to a safe location. Then he called a press conference and showed the world the truth. They tried to break me. We stood taller. 2 weeks later, we held a relaunch dinner press investors, regular folks. No velvet rope, no dress code, just great food, great people, and a new way of doing business. Inclusive, transparent, real. A little girl came up to me that night, maybe 9 years old. Brown skin, big eyes. My mom says, you run this place now, she whispered. I knelt beside her. I do. Can I run a place like this someday? I smiled. You can run the world, baby. As the guests clapped, as cameras flashed, as people toasted to a future that finally included all of us, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a napkin, wrote 4 words. This is just beginning. Chanta. If this story stirred something in you, drop a comment. Have you ever seen someone treated unfairly just because of how they looked? Do you think one voice can still spark a revolution? Hit that like button if you believe in dignity for all, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what courage can really do.